Hello, this is Danny Blyth from the College of Integrated Chinese Medicine, looking at the Pericardium Channel and how to remember the names and the natures of the points really easily. Remember, this is for acupuncture students only. Please pause and read. So first a story. I wake up and draw my curtains. Through the window I see a heavenly pond. It looks so good I'm just going to have to enter it. I get in and two heavenly springs thrust me upwards. I slide down a channel until I end up in a crooked marsh, which is shaped rather like a number 3. I got out and I was completely drenched in water, which strangely was seawater. I'm not sure where to go, but in a cleft in the rock I see a gate with 4 panels. So I walk through the gate and see another one in the distance, but before I get there, a metal-clad man tells me that he's the intermediary of these 3 channels and I can only pass under the river for 5 pieces of gold. I wasn't going to argue, so I went through to the inner gate, which was surprisingly low and had 6 bolts, which were linked together. Through the gate was a great burial mound made out of earth. Now the floor was quite slippery with what turned out to be, strangely, tomato sauce, but luckily there was a walking stick shaped like a 7 that I could use to go up. By the time I got to the top I was feeling quite sedated. Luckily there was a Palace of Weariness at the top, which strangely had a clock with 8 o'clock that was on fire and an exit sign on it. The exit took me to a wooden lift and it had 9 floors, which I knew was lucky because it's 3 lots of 3. As I went up to the 9th floor I felt a central surge, and when I got to the top I felt strangely tonified and ready for my walk home. So let's have that story again. So there was a heavenly pond. Through the window, pericardium 1's the window of heaven point, and I had to enter it, being the entry point. There were 2 heavenly springs that lifted me up, lifted the spirit, that took me to the crooked marsh, which was shaped like a number 3 for pericardium 3, or shaped like an elbow. When I got out I was soaked in water, the water point, which strangely was seawater, the Hussey point. I went through the cleft gate, which had 4 panels for pericardium 4, and of course the she cleft point. Before I could get to the inner gate, I met the intermediary of the 3 channels, which took the path under the river, and he was clad in metal, and he charged me 5 for pericardium 5 metal pieces to pass. I paid to pass and I went through to the inner gate, which was surprisingly low. It had 6 bolts for pericardium 6, which were linked together for the yin linking vessel, and a lot harder to open than the previous gate. We then came to the great burial mound, which was made of earth, was slippery because of the tomato sauce on the floor, but I had my number 7 walking stick, and by the time I got to the top I was feeling quite sedated. At the top was the Palace of Weariness with its clock at 8 o'clock. The clock representing the Harari point, which was on fire because it's a fire point, and it's also the exit point. Finally I came to the wooden lift. I went up to level 9, which was lucky, and felt a central surge as I went up in the lift. So there you have it. Easy way to remember the pericardium points. Thank you for the stock photos. And here's some references and further reading.